everyone. My name is Renisha. I've done a video previously discussing my medical school journey and getting into the Rural Medical Scholars Program. So with this video, I just wanted to talk about how that pre-matriculation year was, where I received my master's in rural community health, and then kind of where I'm at now. So I started the Rural Medical Scholars Program in 2023, and it was like August 23rd. So we had like an orientation day where we met with some doctors in the area, directors of the program, and some of our professors, just to talk about what's expected of us in the program and all the requirements that we have to meet. And we got to meet some of our classmates and just got to mingle around with everybody just to get acquainted. We did start class, and there were 7 rural medical scholars, and then we also had 4 dental scholars. I didn't find out about the dental scholars until we got there, because I didn't know about that. They were the first rural dental scholars class. So we took immunology, physiology, community clinical processes 1 and 2. 1 was in the fall, 2 was in the spring. Also had clinical correlation and study strategies course, and we also had a health policy and planning course. So the hardest class was immunology. I did get an A in there though. I made all A's the first semester, which was my goal. My goal was to make all A's just because I know I can, not to be a Miss Goody Two-Shoes, but just to prove to myself that I know I can do it. Now I got my overall GPA ended up being a 3.9 because I had a B in the second semester, but for the most part, I reached my goal. Immunology, wasn't that it was hard, but there were some questions that we didn't understand, so we just did the best we could, and if we missed it, we just missed it. There was a lot of multiple choice, some essay, matching, fill in the blank, short answer. So it just really varied test by test. I think I started out with like A, B, C, but I think that that last exam was scaled because of how like the average was like lower. Like I think like for the undergrads, their average was probably in the D's, where ours was like in the C. And we tended as grad students to score about 10 points higher than the undergrad. So I went back and I wrote my grades down because I want to tell y'all, how I did. So in immunology, I had an A. So on the first exam, I made a 101. It was like extra, I think there was extra credit, or yeah, we had extra credit because we had like this pre-quiz. I didn't do good on it, but you got points for actually just doing the quiz. The pre-quiz was just to see, where your knowledge was at prior to the class. I had never taken immunology, and I only got like 40% right, which is bad. But I got an A, so that's all that matters. So test 1, 101 with the bonus points. Test 2, I made an 85.5. And then on my last exam, which is the third exam, I had a 91. It was scaled 15, which means that I made like a 76, but I got an A. That's all that matters. My presentation, I had like a 46 out of 8. We just had to present a primary research article with a partner or 2, depending on, how you were grouped. And we had to do it in like 12 minutes. We had these 2 clinical cases. You basically, if you showed up and participated and signed in, you got 100. And then the summary for the presentation. So we had to turn in a summary before we did ours, 100 on that. And then there was like 2 bonus points if like 80% of the class did the survey. So I don't remember what my exact grade was, but I had an A. And then for physiology, my test grades were 93, 100, 90, 92. Pretty much had 100 on the homework set, the assignments that we did, which is basically like submit some potential exam questions or something. And then of course the paper. My overall grade was like a 607 out of 600. Okay, so molecular. This is the one where I had the one terrible grade out of any other class. So the first test, I had an 84. Second exam, a 69, y'all. And yeah, so we took a trip to DC, which I have a whole video about that on my channel, which you can go watch that. That was provided for by the program, which I did talk about all that in that video. And so in undergrad, I would study probably like the week leading up to the exam. So with this program, I was trying to work on studying like pretty much every day. I skipped a couple days, just to relax, but I was trying to work on studying daily to retain knowledge. So being in DC kind of affected that a little bit, and I feel like that's kind of what knocked me off, of my studying. Plus, I was also trying to focus on the objectives because I was trying to see what his question format was, but that wasn't really what he was doing. So I had to regroup for the next exam. So I had a 76, which was better, but a 69 really cost me an A because I feel like I had a high B in there. I don't remember what my exact grade was, but I think it was a high B. The third exam, there was a 76. The fourth exam was 85.5. Final, I made an 84. We had a mini review, and it had to be like, I don't know. We had to have like 30 sources for it, and I probably typed 10 or more pages. It had to be like 2,000, 3,000 words or something like that, and that did not include the abstract. I've never written a mini review. Most of it be doing research, so I felt like that was out of my league. Got an 80 on that. In quizzes, I was probably around a high B, but it wasn't enough to help me get an A. Like, I needed a 100. I think I needed 100 on the final, 100 on the mini review, and maybe like a few more points on the homeworks, and I would have had at least like a 90. But I think I finished at like an 88, something like that in the class. And that was for molecular biology. Now for histology, we had lecture and lab. Lab was actually worth 66% of our grade, and lecture was worth 33%. So 2/3 and 1/3. And that's because we spent more time in the lab. Histo was more like you're looking at stuff. There was some information that we did have to know, and her lecture exams was like heavy on content, so I didn't understand why that was worth so much less. It should have at least been 50-50. So for the lecture exam, I made a 75, a 78, and I studied really hard and made a 94 on that final. That 94 and my paper is what helped me secure an A in that class, because I was scared I was gonna get a B. A B is not a big deal, but I just wanted to do my absolute best. So for lab, it was an 80, a 107, because I did get some bonus points for showing up on lab days when a whole lot of people did not show up. And then on the final, I made an 83, which I just charged that to the game. I think I had around 90% on the homeworks. I did pretty good for the most part on all the homework. She was very nitpicky on how we wrote things and the amount of information. So like, she might ask you to describe something, but she wants full detail. And that's how she wants her answers to be on her lecture exams as well. And then for lab, it's really just you either know it or you don't, and you have to know the full name. You can't miss anything on that. Sometimes she was nice enough to give partial credit, but she really didn't care about that. So Molec and Histo was in the spring, and immunology and physio was in the fall. Okay, the other classes, we call it CCP, the community clinical processes. So we pretty much did the same thing the first and second semester, except the project part was different. So we did a community health assessment in the fall where we went into our hometowns or just a local community, and we did like an assessment about talking to people in the community, talking with people at different businesses, just to get an overview of what the health is like in our rural area. I think everybody did get information from their hometown, and I'm from Bibb County, so that's where I was at. The second semester is where we actually had to plan a actual project. They wanted us to do something in the community. So my project, which I will show you all the poster later, that we did have posted at Convocation, but we did present in the spring semester. So I went to a 10th grade class at the high school in my hometown, and I talked with them about the rural programs, just so that if any of them were interested, or they may or may not be interested in health fields, but just in case they are, they know that they have an opportunity to do one of the youth programs at the University of Alabama to see if they like it or not, and then if they do like it, they can continue. So, and basically just hoping to recruit more students in rural communities who may not even know about these programs, because when I was in school, I did not know anything about these rural programs. If I had known, I would have definitely participated. Okay, and we also did shadowing, field trips. We did some OSCEs, which is like we did practice doing like patient history. So we would have some previous rural medical scholars come in, and they would act as our patients, and we would interview them, or sometimes we may have had, but for the most part, it was just the previous med students. Our dental scholars got to act as patients as well, because they don't really do OSCEs. I guess with dental offices, there's like a difference with how they communicate with patients. So We also did blood pressure log, so we were taught how to do blood pressure, and it was just to get us familiar with taking blood pressures at home. And then we started out doing like med terminology quizzes, but we ended up getting behind, so we kind of like just took that out. But I still have my medical terminology book, which is really helpful. Now with shadowing, we did patient write-ups and reflections. So I shadowed family medicine, OBGYN, internal / geriatric, sports medicine fellowship, family medicine with the behavioral medicine fellowship. I did like sports medicine and behavioral. Behavioral was kind of like therapy. I like therapy, I go to therapy. So I really enjoyed that. Sports medicine I enjoyed too. There were some athletes that came in. There were some kids that came in for like physical. So it's just so many different things going on. And family medicine in general, you could see somebody who's maybe elderly, an adult, a kid. It's different things. I got to watch with colonoscopies. I saw 2 of those. Just interested to see what the colon looks like in the intestines. And then I think that's it. Didn't do inpatient the first semester, but I got to do inpatient the second semester. There was also an African-American doctor I got to shadow in a town near my hometown. And that was great. So I got to see someone who graduated from the program in like 2015. And I thought that was pretty amazing. So just talking with her about her experience, especially as a Black woman, I really enjoyed that. So yeah, we did write reflections every time we shadow, and then the patient write-ups, we just picked the patient and we wrote up like, their chief complaint, and then everything that we would basically ask about, and like when you take in a patient history and doing a physical exam, just to be familiar with that. Field trips, we kind of did the same thing as far as reflections. So whatever we felt, experienced, or saw, whether we enjoyed, whatever we disliked, we wrote. And I'm telling you, if I didn't like something, whether that was shadowing or the field trip, I wrote it. Not playing. And we also had speakers in the class that came, so various doctors, and that was interesting just to see what it's like to, be a rural doctor. One rural dentist told us that he likes to shoot his bow and arrow off of his roof when he's not seeing a patient, which was really interesting. But it's just good to see that they're having a good time in these small towns. And then with the other class that we had, the clinical correlation and study strategies, we had that in the fall and the spring. The fall was more focused on us, like on our wellness. So we talked about different types of breathing mechanisms. We did our schedules. Like we had like an assignment where we would just turn in like a weekly schedule. Some people did make it harder than what it was. It really wasn't that difficult, but all you had to do was just write out, when you would study, what you were doing when you study, and how long you studied. And then planning like free time. You didn't have to state, in detail what you were doing, but just saying, maybe I'm gonna spend this many hours hanging out with friends, but I'm gonna spend this amount of time studying each day. But basically what they wanted to see was if the amount of time that we studied correlated with our grades. And I thought that was pretty interesting, and I'm not even mad at that, because I do agree, if we do the studying, then it will reflect in our scores. Now, there might be some people who can cram, but I feel like for med school, it's not going to cut it, because a lot of the questions are clinical based. So you really need to know your stuff. In the second semester, we talked a lot more about study strategies that were effective versus non-effective. And then we did have some speakers from the med school talk about things. And I think we had some other speakers. I can't really remember. But we also did like this little biochem boot camp where we had some biochem PowerPoints. We didn't always get them that far in advance, but we would look over it, take a quiz just to see how we would do. And then we would have some previous rural medical scholars come in, and they would go over the questions with us just to see, how we were analyzing the questions and answers, and then telling us how they would look at it, and paying attention to, like, what is the question asking, what's the key information in the question, and the information that is just there to basically distract us from what the question is asking. So that's very helpful. In my previous master's, when I took physiology, the questions were more like that, so it was way more difficult, and I had like a 74 in that class. And that was, looking back, that was helpful for med school, because that's how all these questions are pretty much going to be set up. And me having to see in that, and I feel like me having more knowledge now, I feel like I could do a lot better. But I don't want to speak too soon, and I don't want to hex myself. I do feel like I'm gonna have times where I'm probably just not gonna know stuff, and I feel like I'm gonna have a lot of times where I do pretty well. I'm gonna claim doing well. I don't ever want to claim not doing well. All I can do is try my best and put my best foot forward and move forward, and that's all. And then the other 2 classes we had was health policy and planning, and we had environmental and occupational health. So the health policy courses in the fall, we talked a lot about insurance in there. We did a couple, group presentations or individual presentations where we would talk about maybe different health policies. We did discuss like both Democrat and Republican sides for those, just so we wouldn't be biased towards one, just to know what, both sides are saying. And then of course in that you can kind of see what you agree with more. And I thought the class was just helpful, and me being mindful about the type of advocacy that I would kind of be into as a future physician, and kind of what I stand for in medicine. So sometimes it probably, I'm not gonna say the class is all over the place, because it wasn't all over the place. Sometimes I just felt like I didn't know enough. That's how I felt in that class. Like I really need to step up my game on the advocacy side. So with environmental and occupational health, I like that class because we talked about a lot of social and racial injustices that are faced, especially like in rural communities in Alabama, because this is the rural program. So like, for instance, I didn't know about Lowndes County. There was like a sewage issue that had been going on for some time, and there have been complaints, but nothing really has been done. So it's just interesting to see how some people kind of get like left behind. And then there is a community, I want to say it was Uniontown, where waste is being dumped from 33 other states into that area, and these toxic chemicals are affecting the people in that community. This is a predominantly African American community. Both of these areas are in like the black belt of Alabama. So I learned a lot in that class. So I think that was very helpful. And especially going into rural communities, if I'm practicing in the black belt and I already know about these conditions that are going on, then I can know what to expect out of patients as far as health conditions, or we'll at least know what types of severe health issues are being faced in these areas, so that we can actually advocate for them and push for something to be done. So some other things that we got to experience. So in the first semester, we did have a dinner with some previous students at Half Shell, and it was provided for us. And it was just good just to talk with some students in the program before us, and they give us advice. We did have 2 activities that they planned for us to get to know each other as a cohort. We went bowling together the first semester, and the second semester we went to this mini golf course that they just built recently in Tuscaloosa, and that was pretty fun. I already talked about the DC trip. We had superlatives, so like most likely to succeed type of superlatives. And I was never voted for any of that stuff in like middle school or high school, but we all had superlatives for this. I was voted most likely to be named Doctor of the Year, and then that was announced at our convocation, which I didn't expect that. I expected like most likely to be in the gym or something. And I got this pillow as a gift, a lot of doctor quotes on it. And then we all got certificates at the convocation. We also presented our posters. So like somebody might have walked up and asked any questions. I didn't really get that many questions about mine. People typically just read the poster. And we took a group photo together. I got to take a picture with my mom, and we had some good food. And yeah, that was pretty much that. I did take some grad pictures on campus. I really enjoyed those, and they came out really good. And 4 of us walked to graduation, 1 dental scholar, 3 of us rural medical scholars. And we took some pictures with some of the staff that was there and the directors. 6 out of 7 of us applied for a scholarship, and all 6 of us got the scholarship. It was a $20,000 scholarship, so I was very excited about that. And there was also the Academy of Alabama Family Physicians Conference in Destin, and there was a little scholarship for that where they would just cover your room, and of course you got free breakfast and lunch at the conference. But I will post my TikToks about what I did there. So conference wasn't all day. It was like a half a day, in the morning to like noon. I did have a solo beach trip, and that was a pretty fun experience, just to drive 4.5 hours down south by myself and back. I have never driven alone that far, but I had to get my feet wet. Okay, and As you can see, I'm wearing my orientation shirt. So today was the last day of orientation. Tomorrow is Friday, and it's just a service day. So this whole week we had orientation. I met a lot of people. We got this duffel bag. That's the other gift we got from orientation. And we got split into like learning communities. They're based off of the campus that we would be in for our clerkship years, 3rd and 4th year. There's 2 learning communities for Tuscaloosa, Hershowitz and Findlay. I'm in Hershowitz, so I have a little video that I'm putting together that kind of shows what the sorting ceremony was like. It was like Harry Potter sorting ceremony mixed with like Bama Rush in a way.
Everybody want to know what I would do if I didn't win. I guess we'll never know.
I resigned from my clinical research coordinator job. I really enjoyed that. They gave me some parting gifts. I got this cup. UAB had already gave me a green one at second look, but I really like this black one. I got a card. I also had an Amazon gift card. So I had some things on my Amazon registry that I went ahead and bought. I got this bag. I really don't know what kind of bag it is, but it has all kind of pockets and stuff in there. And I had like this little medicine organizer, which it'll help me with my vitamins. I got this notebook. Can't go wrong with a notebook and pen. And then this cool bag. And it has like these little, they're not like full pockets, but on the inside, but I put my water bottle and my umbrella there, and it was really helpful to open up some space. So that's pretty much everything, and I can't wait to update y'all in the next year about everything. Thank y'all for watching.